What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. Today we're going to be going over how to do a press. More specifically, we're going over how to do a push-up. Granted, being in a school district, you see how teaching a push-up is super important and how a lot of the times it's not really executed well by the students. As much as we can tell them proper cues and everything like that, it's tough to watch students do all different types of push-ups and or what they think is a push-up. So honestly, a push-up is huge. It's a very fundamental and compound movement for anyone to be learning beyond the ages of 5 to 16 to 18. Like, everyone should be able to do a push-up. So I'm going to go over a couple of cues as to what we like to see for a push-up, and then I'll give you a progression and a regression like usual. All right, so the first cue that we're going to discuss is our hand placement. A lot of the times our hands are all over the place when it comes to a push-up. We want to have our hands about shoulder width apart and just about under our armpits. So our first cue is really shoulder width. The armpit part is just a little bit extra. So mine are just shoulder width. If I'm up here in my plank position, it's just under my armpits. So the second one that we want to go over is to keep our hips up. So a lot of the times, even at the initiation of a push-up, people will drag their hips down. So if you can see from the side, they'll drag their hips down, and then when they're doing their push-up, it's basically their hips hitting the ground first. And there's another way that people usually do it also, where their head usually goes forward and they think they're doing a push-up correctly, but it's really just you're shortening the range of motion because your head is going down. So first cue is having your hands shoulder width. Second one is to keep your hips up. So if we're keeping our hips up here, this is our plank position. This should be just the starting position for everyone. We're keeping everything nice and straight. A lot of the times some people will have their heads up. Don't worry about that too much. Try to keep focus on one thing on the ground. All right. The next part is about where our elbows go. I see elbows go just about everywhere when it comes to a push-up, but there is a correct way to do it, and it's about to have your elbows, they kind of make like an arrow. So some people will do a push-up and their elbows will wing out like this. We call that chicken winging. And then sometimes you keep your elbows super, super tight in, which is okay, but there's a good balance between the two of them, and having them about like at a 45-degree angle is perfect. It kind of creates an arrow. If you were to look from the back, it kind of creates like an arrow from my spine to where my elbows end. So creating an arrow is kind of like the way that I talk about it, or I say it as a 45-degree angle. So we have 90 here, we have another technically 90 here, and then we have our 45 degrees here, so, or 0. So first cue is our shoulder width, then we're gonna have our hips up, and then we're gonna have our 45-degree angle elbows. So I'm going down, I'm at a 45-degree angle, I'm not too far in, as you can see here. My elbows aren't out like that. I'm at a nice 45-degree angle, and the last one is always exploding up. That is the most important part of the motion. If you can't do a push-up, honestly, being able to do just going down very, very slowly and keeping that proper form and not being able to explode up is perfectly fine too. But because it's an eccentric and you're just gonna be able to get the work in. All right, so a progression for this, actually let's go to the regression first. Regression here, and this is why I have my mat here, is to elevate your hands. Elevate your hands so that it makes it easier. We're talking with gravity here. That's why the push-up and squat and stuff like that are so hard. It's because we're working against gravity. If you put your hands at an elevation, it's gonna be a little bit easier. So, same cues, same everything that we're doing, shoulder width, everything like that, 45-degree angle, and exploding up. That's, if you can't do a push-up, you could work with that. You could do push-ups off your knees, whatever works for you, all right? The second one now is a progression. So we want to make it more difficult. Push-ups are too easy. You could do a whole number of ways of making a push-up harder, but this is just what I find to be an easier way. So you elevate your feet. So now we have basically more gravity coming down on us, although gravity is consistent. We're just talking about the angle at which gravity is hitting us right now. We're going down, exploding up. So that's really like the brief summary of how to do a push-up. It's all about practice when it comes to a push-up. Trying to correct the form of having your elbows out, where your hands are placed. There are certain like very, very minute things that need to be done in order to make an effective push-up. So that's it for today. I hope everyone's able to know the 4 cues as to how to do a push-up. If you're really good at push-ups, I hope you know now that there are different ways to make it harder. That's just one of the ways to make it harder. If you can't do a push-up yet, I would love to be able to see you progress and be able to do a push-up, because it's a huge compound lift for you, and it's going to be able to give you such confidence when you're able to just work out and do stuff on your own without having to have any type of equipment, because you can just do a push-up. That's it for today. I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.